My first gym was called Alpha Performance Studio. It was a private training gym. It was 750 square feet. It was me and my dog in a squat rack, and I was charging $40 a session to try and just get people in. But I do always say our biggest competitor is not a different chain. It's the local kid who comes home and is pouring his absolute heart into one gym. We went to the local coffee shop, which we've got like 15 downtown, but we chose one. And we said, we're going to buy the first 100 cups of coffee today. And that way, when somebody goes to buy a cup of coffee, they're like, yeah, it's taken care of today. And they're like, what? And they're like, yeah, the little dude in the corner with the table and the flyer, like he bought your coffee.
Hello and welcome to Gym World Worldwide. I am your host, John Franklin, joined as always by my life partner and friend, Mateo Lopez. We're in a great hat. Support Gym World, support Kilo. And we have an incredibly special guest for you today. We have the man, the myth, the legend, Coach Sam Tooley, the founder of Alpha Fit Club. I guess you got another gym called the Garage Gym. You got some collabs going on. Online trainer. It seems like you got a lot of irons in the fire here. A lot of projects. But
is it correct to call you a fit-losopher? Is that your proper?
It sounds good to me. It's the first time I'm hearing it, but I like it. Everything about this intro, by the way, like the countdown, which was like slow and like a lot of drama there. The theme song that came on, like it's the stage has been set.
Yeah, I mean, we very high pressure for very low views. You know, that's how we work it out
some
there.
Butterflies if it makes you feel any better, man. I mean, I'm a little jazzed up over here, so it's working.
Yeah, man. And so you're out of New Jersey, right? Westfield is HQ. You got started pretty young, right? Like you're give us the 30-second elevator pitch of your journey from where you started opening that first gym.
30 seconds.
I've heard it in other podcasts. There's no way it's going to be in 30 seconds.
I appreciate that. I mean, I'll start with that. I've always thought of myself as an entrepreneur and maybe successful and failed at the same time, which I think is what entrepreneurship is. I have freshman year of college. I had a laundry service at Fairfield U up in Connecticut, where you could, we partnered with a local dry cleaning company that picked up kids, their clothes, their whatever. A lot of college athletes would use it and then drop it off clean and folded, right? And started that freshman year of college. Sophomore year, had a fleet of Italian ice trucks in my hometown that would drive around on routes, and kids would just show back up with cash. It looked like I was an Italian ice drug dealer all at the same time. So
the Jersey dream, an Italian ice truck fleet.
I want to know about the cash register machine, the cash register salesman. That's the one I want to know about.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I lived in Binghamton, New York for a little bit. I sold point of sale software systems to independent grocery stores all over the tri-state. And I was cold calling literally grocery stores. And they were like, that was short lived. That was about 3 months.
They're like, I already have a cash register. I don't need a new cash register.
They didn't understand. They just didn't understand the benefits of what we were selling. But that honestly was my first real job post-college, and really sparked the question of like, what do I want to do with my life that's going to fill up the bucket? And the only answer that I had was to coach. I really just wanted to coach. I was super fortunate in high school here in Westfield, which has probably one of the most historic public school kind of running histories ever. They've won like 20 to 21 state championships at this point. They have gone to nationals as of late, year in and year out. It's like a historic kind of running community here. And most of that was predicated by my coach in high school, this guy, Coach Martin, who was like this Yoda-like military figure. And he was my role model, right? Like I wanted to be him, but mainly because I wanted to impact people the way he impacted people. I was a super angry kid in high school. I just didn't love where I was living. I didn't love my home life situation. And for me, the track was a punching bag. And so he just helped me see what was possible. Again, I'd played sports growing up and wasn't very good at any of them, but kind of found fitness through that initial stage of running. And what he did for me in terms of giving me an outlet, giving me a vision, helping me understand what that hard work looked like. The only thing that I could see myself doing was giving that back to kids. And so I came home, to your point about it, at a young age, at 24 years old, and just started coaching at the high school as a volunteer coach. And that decision, I was super fortunate to be supported in doing so, and found myself surrounded by people who kept just telling me to keep going, which I think is a rarity. And so was fortunate to have support in starting my first gym and starting my first business, because again, I think that's special. A lot of times I think you can be met with reservations, or what are you doing? You went to college. Why are you coming back home to be a high school coach? Like all those things. But I was never met with any of that. I was never met with anything other than support. And so that really was the kickstart into not selling registers anymore, or Italian ice, and coaching people for a living.
Hey, I know a family friend on my wife's side. They sell like the Mr. Green Tea is the name of the company. They're on the Profit, and they make like absolute bank just selling, just hucking ice cream to restaurants in New York City, like a sneaky, massive business. So, the Italian thing could have worked really well, the Italian ice thing. Or like Belmar, you have a location opening up in Belmar. You've been to Strollo's?
Yep.
Yeah, no one knows how much money Strollo's make because it's all cash, but like I'm pretty sure they just like own half of Belmar and paid it in straight like duffel bag. Here you go. So could have worked out going the other way, peddling sugar. But glad you're here. Brought you to us.
Yes.
You started off as like an online coach, right? So you have like I'll pull up your gram here. You got a little bit of a following. So when you were doing the coaching thing, you were just like posting running workouts, right? That was like how you built your following up.
Listen, at the time, this was 6-7 years ago, and people were starting to build personal brands and books of business in the fitness world, really catering to more of that like bodybuilder.com or bodybuilding.com at the time. That was like my Bible when I was in college and I was trying to like figure out what to do in the gym, transitioning from being a 120 pound, twig of a runner. Right. And so I started to see what those folks were doing on social, and specifically from a coaching standpoint. And so when I moved back home and I was coaching at the high school, I had this thought where maybe I could coach endurance athletes online. No one's really talking to my people. And again, that was probably the first time I would say that I was met with a little bit of resistance, where I started a social media account. I was running around town. My buddies are like, dude, what are you posting on the internet? It is you in your booty shorts running around town, training for races. And they did not know me to be that guy in college. So I took a chance and put myself out there. A lot of that was predicated on the fact that first season when I was coaching, my dad passed away super suddenly, and the need to make money was very real. And I think this was one of those things where I was like, this feels like a low lift, an opportunity to put myself out there and try what I'm seeing other people be successful in, and document that journey, right? Document that journey of my training, quite frankly, dealing with that. And also, trying to bring that coaching that really filled up my bucket to a larger number of folks while building a business doing so.
Seen a lot of like collab posts in here. Are you making coin off your Instagram? You've got a lot of brand deals going on.
I've got a couple brand deals going on. Right now, I'm fortunate to be one of the lead trainers for Gainful, the supplement company. I'm a captain for 10,000, which is a fantastic apparel brand. I've had, a number of partnerships along the way for sure. And, now I'm in a position where fortunately I don't necessarily have to focus on the content online as much, because we've got the gyms, rocking at the level we do. But that's a job, man. And quite frankly, if you don't enjoy it, it really feels like a job. And initially the posting content I loved. It was fun. It was cool to document. And then, I think it can very quickly start to feel like a chore. And I definitely have, I fall in and out of those moments where I love documenting the journey. And it's the coolest thing to look back on the gym specifically 5 years ago and say, wow, we've come a really long way. But then other times when it becomes like brand deal oriented, it really can feel like a job, because somebody's, paying you a paycheck at the end of the day.
Just posting on Instagram 3 times a week sounds like awful, when I can just post anything I want. Like I don't even, much less like having you being the product, doing it every day, updating stories. Like you really have to love it, or you really have to like be lasered in on making that your full-time gig. So yeah, I can totally understand why you'd want to stop doing that as soon as you had your own thing up and running. I didn't hear you mention, so I was talking to my brother-in-law. He was over for dinner the other day and he showed me this. He showed me, let me see, I'll pull it up here. He's like, yo, I've been working out. I got this new app going. And I was like, oh, cool. Let me see. And that was before I knew we were doing this thing.
Yeah, it's the ladder app out of Austin.
But it was literally like he opened the app and it was literally just you right there. And I was like, that dude looks familiar. And then I was like, oh, wait, or he's coming on the pod on Friday. So how does that work? Because you have your own thing in there, right? Project Alpha, that's like branded to your gyms, isn't it?
So it's ironic. It's separate from the gyms itself, outside of the fact that like most everything in my life is alpha oriented, right? And I've kind of leveraged that as part of the personal brand and vice versa. Ladder was an opportunity presented to me by a friend and former client that I was training who had invested into this startup based out of Austin, where a few of his buddies had kind of come together and built what at the time was a true beta version of what you're seeing there. So this was pretty much pre-pandemic. Right before the pandemic launched, I was on the initial version of the app with one other coach, Lauren Kansky, who's an absolute stud. And we were super fortunate to, quite frankly, dogfight through what was really, really a challenging time for the app and the platform. They just couldn't figure out paid ads or anything like that. The product itself was fantastic. I had never seen an app deliver programming in the way that we were able to deliver it there, whether it was, being able to time specific workouts, voiceovers, on-screen demonstrations, a timer, a journal to log your weights, you name it. Like, it was an in-person coaching experience, but without needing to stare at the screen or not needing to follow a live class. You could be in a real gym doing a real workout. And now, they just completed their Series A. They've got about 14 different programs on the platform catering to a bunch of different needs, bodybuilding to hybrid training like myself, kettlebell training, yoga, strength, you name it, right? Whatever you're looking for, chances are they've got a coach on there that's probably pretty much a stud at it. And they've figured out a way to bring attention to the app. And I think now we have almost 100,000 folks on the app itself. And so they're doing real numbers, and the stories and transformations that people are getting from the app itself it's super, super inspiring. So fortunate to be able to do not just private coaching on a very intimate level online, but also be able to do something at scale with a platform like that.
It looked like they did like 7 million in the seed, 12 million in the A. And it looks like LeBron and Arnold Schwarzenegger has money in this thing too. So definitely got some right attention. Is that right?
I don't know. I know the numbers are right. LeBron, I feel like, was with Ladder, the supplement company, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's it. Okay, so this is a different Ladder.
The 12 million in the Series A sounds correct to me. And
okay, so there's a nutrition ladder, and then there's the Ladder app.
Yes.
That just did. All right. Well, I probably would want LeBron over the 12 million,
Yeah.
But congrats, congrats to you and your boys.
I just want to know, why build a gym then? I mean, online is so cool because there's no rent and there's no employees. So, I know I listened to recent podcasts or I recently listened to a podcast. I know as like in 2020, you were still saying the majority of your income was still coming from your specialized online training with your running clients. You're obviously making inroads here on social media. And there were some successful gym owners I talked to recently at a meetup in Austin who, their gym's doing really well, and it has been for many years. And now they're trying to think about next steps and eventually selling the gym. And their whole thing is, let's build an online kind of program, content library, so that we have this thing that we can use once we sell the gym. So many people I know want to do what you already did. You went the opposite way, and then you went to brick and mortar. So what was the thinking there? What was the drive, the decision for that?
It's a great question. And we'll bring it back a little bit. So when my singular business was the online coaching, right? This was 2017-ish. I was scared about somebody like literally hacking my Instagram account. And I'm like, well, if this goes away, what do I got? And also, I'm an in-person person. I'm old school in that way. I want to call you, I don't want to text you, or I don't want to call you and I still don't want to text you. But like I'm built to be around other people, and that's what fires me up every day. And so my first gym was called Alpha Performance Studio. It was a private training gym. It was 750 square feet. It was me and my dog in a squat rack, and I was charging $40 a session to try and just get people in. And so meanwhile, I was charging $400 online for a month of programming. Right. I just wanted my own space. I always, as I started to go down this path, I was like, how sick would it be to have a gym? And I feel like that's where most people who open a gym start, right? They're like, I just want my own space. I want to be able to train when I want to train. I want to train people. Nobody's like in the personal training space, at least when they have a 700 square foot studio in the middle of, Westfield, New Jersey. That ain't the moneymaker, right? So you can work your ass off, you can have a full book of business, but in terms of scale and making significant income, like you're limited at the end of the day. You're trading time for money. And so I was hedging my bets a little bit, when I first started. And I think I've always been conscious of having different revenue streams with different businesses at different life cycle moments in their life cycle to, have a layer of protection there. I was really fortunate early on to have some clients of mine out of that first space who saw how I worked, saw kind of my mindset, my potential, hopefully. And they would just challenge me and they'd be like, are you going to just keep doing this? Not that you're not great at it, but are you just going to do this? And that gets, you start to think like, what do you mean just this? Like I just opened my, first gym.
It's a pretty big deal. Yeah.
Like you're in
everything I got.
You're in Alpha Performance Studio, dude. Like what else do you want? But, I started to travel a little bit that first year that I was in business as well. And I enjoyed the freedom and flexibility that came with not necessarily being locked in that box. And so the kickstart for what became Alpha Fit Club was this idea of, could I build something that ran without me? Could I lean into maybe a group fitness model, which two of my clients who eventually became my business partners were considering buying Orange Theory locally. It was already open, or opening F45s. And so we went into the city together. It was the first F45 on the East Coast in Flatiron. We checked it out. And I was like, listen, I don't love the concept, but I understand how we can make money doing this. I understand that it's replicatable. And no offense to the team who was running it that day, but I was like, if they can do it, like I can do it. And so I started to get an understanding of it, and we started negotiating with Australia. Those negotiations proved probably ultimately why they are in the position they're in now, in the sense of you could buy one on the left side of the street, you could buy one on the right side of the street, and there was really no protection. So as I sat there, I just was like, I think we can build something ourselves. And I wanted to take what I was seeing that I admired in the city, this sexy, clean boutique studio, like a Barry's, or they were running a concept out of the back of Soho House called The Three with these techno gym pieces. And I was like, there's something here that we can make that feels more on brand for me. And again, like I am an entrepreneur at heart. I love the creating phase. I want to design the room. I want to design the programming. I want to build the team. I want to lead. And I felt like I was selling my soul to the devil by buying into another brand. So we just said, fuck it, let's go. And we opened the first Alpha Fit Club in April 27th, 2019. So our 5-year celebration is in about 30 days.
It's like literally when we were like all out. Yeah, we rubbed shoulders. There's so much. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. But before I forget the most important thing, because we got to like weigh the opportunity here. So what kind of money were you doing online when you decided, hey, I'm going to kind of throw this away or hedge this by going in person?
Probably around $250K a year, I'd say. That was pretty much my sweet spot if I had a full roster of clients. To be honest with you, I probably had a mental block in terms of going beyond that and feeling like I could handle the workload and deliver a great experience to my clients who were some of them were training for the Olympic trials in the marathon, right? And so I just wanted to do a great job, and I felt good making that amount of money while I then said, okay, well, now I'm going to go build a private book of business and open a gym.
So it wasn't like you were scraping by, like that puts you in the top 0.1% of online coaches. Like it was substantial and probably a clear run up to million plus doing what you're doing. And was that including brand deals or is that before brand deals? I was just trying.
That was before brand deals. That was me doing everything in my power to build a following on social media, whether that was following and unfollowing 100 accounts a day or whatever, right? Whatever it took, DMing people out the wazoo. This was an awesome tactic that I still would recommend to somebody. I would print out the local 5K results and I would take anybody who was running 21 minutes or faster and I would look them up on Instagram, follow them, DM them saying, hey, saw the results from so-and-so run. You did great. Would love to bring you in for a free session to strength train with me or talk about coaching. And I would do that every single week. And then I started doing it with the Olympic trial qualifying races and started to try and pick off people that way. And I was like, yeah, so-and-so, I coached her. She got the qualifier by 40 seconds. And I would do it in a way that was like, just here as a soundboard if you want, but anything and everything, man. I mean,
that's a big brain tip.
That's
a good one that we've never had. Yeah. I'm going to go to all the like guru mastermind testimonial pages and start DMing people being like, man, I saw your gym. You're so fucking rich. You're so rich, but man, your website's bad. Man, that gym management software is holding you back. I'm here if you need it. Yeah. Wow.
We're just here to help, brother.
Wow. That was incredible. Okay. Amazing. I'm assuming, did you get investors to open up that your original garage space, or were you just plowing money from online? Because you said you had partners. Like, why take on partners if you're making that type of coin?
Yeah. So with the initial gym, I think my total spend was around $50,000. Again, it was 750 square feet. It was a patch of turf, some rubber flooring.
That wasn't the Alpha Fit concept we have today.
That was Alpha Performance Studio. That was where I was doing my PT. And admittedly, that's where I met my partners as clients, right? And they brought the opportunity to me to partner with them. So the idea of partnership came from, this wasn't my idea, right? I was being presented with an opportunity to go check out something. And I was still figuring it out. It was still fresh. Not to drop like the trauma bombs as we joked about, but the first month that I opened my first gym, my brother passed away super tragically in a home fire. And to say that my head was, all over the place would be a massive understatement. And every single client I had, the kids that I coached at the high school, you name it, like legit just had my back, right? And I think allowed me to move at a pace I needed to. Some weeks I'd be on the couch and I was like, I'm literally not getting up today. Or other weeks I would be at the gym at 3:30 doing my sessions, smile on my face. And it was this ping pong game. So when the original group of us, which ended up being 6 folks, 3 different kind of partnership groups, if you will, came together, it was a good feeling of also having a team for the first time to work with as well. All of my other businesses were me on an island, which felt really isolating too. So it was a space in fitness I didn't know super, super well. I watched videos of me leading my first group fitness classes out of what was my second Alpha Performance Studio, also known as now the Garage Gym. And I was just hollering at people. I was so mean, dude, like just angry, like yelling, like, let's go, like whatever. And I was like, yeah, that ain't how you do it now. Like so there were some lessons to be learned there for sure.
And you were mentioning how people I'm pulling up the Zillow of Westfield for context here, because you mentioned we operated out of some rich areas too. And people, when you have members coming from places like this isn't sorted price high low. This is just what it costs to live in Westfield right now. I remember that frustration where I'd be talking to a member and they'd be like, so yeah, what are you going to do after this? Or what are you going to, I was like, this is the thing, man. I just I like owning a gym. I like doing this. I
was in New York operating that New York location, and it was the same question because it was just a different subset of those same people who were had the, townhouses in West Village or Lower East Side, and all being iBankers, been like, all right, so what's next for you, pal? This is a cool little gig. It's like, dude, this was my dream job. Leave me alone.
Yeah. My favorite line ever was like, oh yeah, you've got that little gym. And in fairness, it was tiny. Right. But I was like, this is my world, man. What do you mean? I'm 24 years old. I'm 25 years old. This is what I'm up to. And I got that too, even when I was in high school and college. High school, I was kind of, I would work my ass off on the track, but not the classroom. And so getting into a college was really predicated on me being able to run there. When I went to college, I wanted those fun jobs in the summer. I wanted the laundry company at school. I wanted the Italian ice trucks. I didn't want the internship in the city. I didn't want to be a finance bro at the end of the day. And so I was very counter to that. 19 years old, when I had those trucks, I got an apartment on the south side of town, and I'm throwing up air quotes because it's still fucking beautiful. And I moved out of my house at 19 years old because I was sick and tired of being home, and I wanted to make some money and make a change. So my friends' parents were scratching their head, and they're like, this kid like might not even be a good influence, right? Like I'm not vibing with this. So I've always had this chip on my shoulder of, just making something of myself, I think, and almost proving that not only to other people, but quite frankly to myself. We joked about kind of being the only productive thing I was doing at college was going to the gym, but it's the absolute truth. And I think as I look back on it, if my 31-year-old self could tell anything to my 21-year-old self is like, don't waste this time, right? Like, yeah, you're having a good time, or not really, quite frankly, but you're getting through, you're getting by. Like, what an incredible opportunity I wasted during those years, whether it was athletically or, just getting a head start on building myself up to be, somebody I'm proud of being. And that was definitely a miss on my part. And so part of me feels like I'm making up for lost time, and also just seizing the opportunity that I've got in front of me by taking on all these different projects at the same time.
I think that's everyone, though, especially in the New York area. I feel like everyone could tell their younger self to just like, don't go out so much, and maybe focus a little more on this thing you got going on. Could be really cool if you just like focused a little more. I feel like that's a lot of us.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the trauma thing. I was like, yeah, to survive in New York, to self-select is like, I'm a person who wants to live here and grow a business here. Like there's definitely like something like you got to have a screw or two loose or something that you want to prove to someone. Sure. Like that's definitely like and then I was talking with Mark about this, Mark Fisher. I don't know if you met him yet, Sam, but it's like fitness is a war of attrition. Like surviving, getting to the top of this industry is like, it's very rare to do it young. So like tip of the hat to you to get to where you are as young as you are. You had the same advantage we did of starting like right out of college and knowing that was the thing you want to do. But it's like one thing to, build a multi-million-dollar thing in fitness. It's another thing. If you look at the guys that like, I'm sure we came up a little bit before you. So I'm sure if I rattled off the list of names of people we were looking up to, like they're all gone. Those gyms are gone. They shut down. Like, so it's another thing to just like stay there. And these guys who've managed to be on top of the game for like a long period of time, like that you really do have to be built different. Cause I do think genuinely that this industry is more difficult than almost any other, except for maybe like restaurants or hotels or,
Which is interesting too. Like I have one of my partners owns a fast casual food chain, right, called Salad House. And I'm able to learn from their experience in that sort of restaurant world, which is a little, different than sitting down and having a meal and, a server, et cetera. But, to your point, sometimes it's very difficult for me to compare the two because ours is an emotional purchasing decision for the consumer, right? We're asking them to spend hours with us for extended period of time to push themselves to do all these different things that quite frankly, most don't want to do. Right. Versus like, I'm going to order a salad for lunch. I'm going to order a wrap for lunch. I'm going to pick it up, DoorDash it, whatever, and then move on. So I think the fact that ours is so experiential does really make it challenging. And then also the folks from an operational perspective, your employees, things like that, managing those people in this environment is really challenging as well. Especially something like group fitness, which is very, upbeat, high intensity. Like it truly is an experience. You're putting on a show to a certain extent while also facilitating, fitness at the end of the day. So even that, I think group fitness has been an absolute masterclass in the complexities of the fitness world, right? Personal training, I feel good about. An open gym model, I feel really good about. I feel they're simple, right? Group fitness, boutique group fitness at scale and through franchising is an absolute beast. And had I known how difficult this was, I don't know if I would have gone down this route transparently, but we're here and we're about to be 14 locations deep for Alpha Fit Club with 20 more on the horizon. And I'm now mentally preparing for this next phase because it is only getting increasingly more complex.
I want to ask about that next. Just to clarify my other comment, I only meant, I think that time in your 20s, if you could go back and like say something yourself, like don't waste it. I think like that messy period, like it informs who you are today. I think I'm hearing some of your story. I feel like a lot of the alpha that you have now and just the brand and the mentality probably came from those trials and tribulations in that period where things are not, you're in your 20s. Yeah. You're not going to be focused. You're going to be doing other stuff and messing up, making mistakes. And I think that leads to growth in the end. But my first question about the new concept is, this is no shade. How is it different than Orange Theory besides the colors?
Or like a berries. I was getting some berries vibes too.
Yeah. So a couple different ways I can answer that. The first and foremost is the strength and conditioning component of what we do. Now, we know as fitness professionals, it's not pure strength and conditioning as you would see it in a weight room or anything like that, but it's a circuit style strength and conditioning workout that infuses both. And so I think that missing strength moment within an Orange Theory or a Barry's Boot Camp explicitly is something that we wanted to solve for, right? We wanted to have 75-pound dumbbells in the room. We wanted to have, 60-pound kettlebells. We wanted to have sleds, the air bike, the skier, the row. We thought having the cable machines in there was a little bit of differentiation as well. The self-propelled treadmills, it's a very dynamic experience. And I think that allows for some variety, not variety for the sake of variety, because we do still try to instill a little bit of progressive programming over the course of a 4-week split. So there's, in my opinion, a method to the madness, as well as you can do a total circuit body workout that's different every day. And I think, you see it in the demographic even. We're 60% women, 40% men. To have 40% men say, yes, I'm willing to go to a boutique group fitness experience, we've done something there for sure. And whether that's the branding or the product itself, I'm good with it being either or both. So from a product standpoint or an experience standpoint, I'd say that's been a major difference factor for us. And then, I think one of the other things that happened by absolute accident was the fact that when you go to an Orange Theory or you go to an F45 or you go to a Barry's Boot Camp, you can feel like one of many. You're up on your treadmill, you're doing your thing. You're bouncing like a Mexican jumping bean around an F45, you're doing your thing, right? Like you're kind of just in a room with a lot of people, but are you actually working with them? And by accident, we had 6 stations with 4 people at each station. And that's your accountability pack. That's who you're rotating around the room with. That's who, in some cases, you're relying on to complete their portion of a station while maybe they push the sled down and back and I'm stuck on the air bike until you get back. You actually are working as a group. And so there's a connectivity that happens very naturally in the room because of that. And so you start to socialize, you start to knuckle touch mid-workout, you start to high five, you start to make those jokes. And when I started designing the initial experience, it was 12 stations of 2 people. Now we changed because then as a coach, I had 12 different things happening around the room, some of which were strength-based, and I had to truly fix their form, whether it was deadlifts over at the dumbbells, a cable chest press, you name it. I wanted less to happen in the room so that I could coach them. And I was very protective of that. Even as we thought about increasing class size and things like that, I needed to ensure that my job as coach was done correctly. And so that, we dropped it down. We said 6 stations, 4 people per station. I can monitor it. And then people started really getting to know each other very quickly in the gym. And you're like, okay, very cool, kind of after effect here. So I think that's, those are the 2 major difference in my opinion. And then the last thing I would say is where we've chosen to open up these gyms is you're taking a New York City boutique group fitness experience and you're putting it in the suburbs where, quite frankly, most people had been in the city previously. And so if you can continue to find areas that, quite frankly, don't have what we're offering at the level that we're offering it with this sexy aesthetic and somewhere people want to go, you have at least a little bit of a competitive advantage to maybe the mom and pop, what have you. But I do always say our biggest competitor is not a different chain. It's the local kid who comes home and is pouring his absolute heart into one gym and has a connection to the community and is coaching at the high school. It was me. I am my own worst, enemy.
Mini you. You're saying mini you is the
okay, because that's somebody who's got their everything in one gym, one location, right? And as we grow, it's doable, but man, is it hard to give the same level of intensity and care that I gave to just one gym.
So you mentioned the branding, and I think the branding is great. And not only the branding, the locations look awesome. And it looks like this was something you had going on early on. Because if I look at the garage, which was like the OG, you moved from 700. What was the next size? What was the next size
700
up?
to 1,600 square feet, a 40 by 40 box with a garage door that was about 20 feet long.
Is that still the one you're in now?
No. So Garage Gym evolution has been interesting because, again, it was called Alpha Performance Studio. So I had Alpha Performance Studio where I would do private, semi-private, and youth training eventually. And people, when we opened Alpha Fit Club, would keep driving over to Alpha Performance Studio thinking it was the same thing. And so I had to eventually change the name to reduce any confusion. And we started calling it the Garage because the garage door was literally massive. And when the pandemic hit, the guys that I was training semi-privately who became dear friends to me were like, dude, we don't care. Give us the keys. We'll go in one by one and we just need a gym. We'll keep paying you. We'll make sure the lights stay on. I was like, all right, cool. Like, I don't have to pay attention to this. You guys clean up after yourselves, whatever. And here this amazing model was of an unstaffed 24/7 gym where I could just accept 100 to 200 members and let them do their thing. Kieran, who you see in this video now, was with me during the pandemic, essentially training out of the space as a member. He was there like 3 times a day. I was like, dude, what are you doing? Who are you? Like, what are you training for? What's wrong? Like, what's wrong with you? And became pretty much my best friend during that time. And I was considering closing the garage. I was like, I got to focus on Alpha Fit Club. We're building 2 more gyms during the pandemic. I just don't have the time to dedicate to this space anymore. I probably should close it down. And I had this idea to go to Kieran and be like, would you want to be my business partner and run this thing? 1 coffee meeting, 1 handshake, a check on my desk the next day. And this kid has just gone all in on this to the point that he was able to quit his job 6 months ago and just go full time with this.
I like the tagline. So if you're listening instead of watching, we're just going through the Instagram, showing some reels here, but it looks, the branding looks pretty similar to the other one. Both of them look really masculine, black and white coloring. It's got the sweet equipment, and the racks are, 3x3 steel, though I don't see pictures of anybody, squatting 600 pounds. But like, it doesn't look like it smells bad, and it doesn't look like, it looks like a place where you could bring your girlfriend and not be like embarrassed that she's training there. So this seems like pretty deliberate. Was this just like, you got a buddy who's good at branding, or you just have a knack for this stuff? Like, how did you figure this out? Or was this just like what you wanted to see in the world?
Yeah, the design of the space itself was very much just like, this is a vibe that I think we can bring to life pretty easily, right? Where let's paint the room black, let's get some sharp equipment in there, and let's just keep it simple, right? And I think that kind of that cleanness that comes with it, right? That where you were kind of suggesting that, both men and women could go train there and feel comfortable, was a byproduct of just keeping it simple and really just thinking through, like, we want this to look like a clean space that you want to come train, but still trying to maintain some of that grittiness where you want to train hard, right? And interestingly enough, we opened that second location a few months back in the late stages of last year. And we took over a legit garage, right? Fortunately, it was disgusting when we took it over. We did our best to beautify it, but a Lifetime opened up right down the road, like maybe last month. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous space. And people have gone over and checked it out. If they've got kids, it makes more sense for them, all good. But there's a large group of people who went over and checked it out and goes, this place just doesn't want to make me train hard. It just doesn't have that garage gym vibe where you're like, look over and you see a High Rocks, banner on the wall. You see somebody else like ripping run intervals. And even if they're not in the best shape, they're training super hard with typically a purpose, right? And so it's kind of just this contagious community of folks who really want to work hard. And it doesn't need to be massive for the model to work. We take on these kind of 3,000, 3,500 square foot spaces. The rent at both are like $5,000 a month. We were able to work out really, really favorable deals and terms. And we open it up to 200 people who pay $200 a month, and so we run that place at 60, 70% margins. Kieran tours every single person who inquires before they join. So it's almost like an unofficial interview to make sure that they're not a wacko, considering the place is not staffed. And it's just a special group. People walk in. If you've never met somebody in that gym, they are coming over and they're shaking their hands and they're introducing themselves. And that's way different than going to a crunch and headphones in, hat down, which might be some people's vibe, right? But there's definitely a certain very small contingency of folks who are craving community in that way, even if it's just a knuckle touch and not a conversation.
So you're saying these garage spaces are spitting off over $20,000 in profit a piece?
We're reinvesting a lot of it. So right now, both we just cap at $15,000 a month in profit for both locations.
Okay. And that's on staff. It's Kieran's the guy. Kieran is the staff. Yeah.
Kieran takes a small salary out of both. And then we keep the profits coming at about $15,000 per month per location.
Dang, that is nutty. And that's cool. How are you getting members for that? Is it just all word of mouth now, or are you advertising it?
It's word of mouth. We did a pre-sale for Little Silver. And then with Westfield, we brought over the people that had stayed with me as semi-private to utilizing that model. And once a quarter, we do a community workout. We try to do some things out in the community. But to be honest with you, man, I spend 1 hour a week on this. And that is a workout with Kieran and a coffee afterwards. And that is his birth child. So everything that you see there, I take next to no credit for outside of starting it and then getting the hell out of the way.
Should have franchised that one, the unstaffed one.
Little Silver one looks awesome. I would pay $200 to work out there.
So the problem with franchising something like that, which has such low revenue, is that the royalty fees we would collect on a location level are so minimal that you've got to, at least in my opinion, at this stage, is if we're going to franchise a model, make sure that there's legit revenue coming in, or maybe a partnership model as we expand that one. We'd like to keep it private. So Kieran and my mom own the garage gym right now. I transferred my ownership to my mom. That way I don't have a conflict of interest with Alpha Fit Club. And so my mom is the CEO of the garage gym, and Kieran is CEO or COO of the garage gym.
So I want to ask about the franchise.
Show.
Yeah, seriously.
He's badass, bro.
I have one quick question about this. I think I read somewhere or heard somewhere, you said the first gym you invested like your life savings, and then some of your clients help you self-fund, or
no? So
or they raised money or something they bought in? No.
Garage Alpha Performance Studio was all me. Part of that was like a very small amount of money that my dad left me and my brother. When he passed away, I think it was like $24,000 was what we each got there. And so I poured that in, and then just money from the online coaching and kept that rocking. And then, basically 2 years later, if you think about it, I did that again, where I put my life savings into the initial Alpha Fit Club. And my two other partners, Jerry and Rob, had small groups that invested as well. And so, we had a group of 6 of us at the top that had contributed to the Westfield location, the Verona location, the Red Bank location. We took in some outside investors when we did our second and third locations during the pandemic, just to help kind of capitalize the business. And then after a year of those locations running post-pandemic is when we started franchising the concept. And we basically sold out the state of New Jersey with roughly 20 units in 2021. A lot of those are with essentially roadmaps, in the sense of like, once you open your first, you have 6 months to secure a lease to open your second, so on and so forth, which is why, by the end of May, we'll be sitting at 13 locations open, 3 of which are corporately run and 10 of which are franchises that will be open and rocking.
So you started with the intention of franchising the Alpha Fit.
We did. Yeah, everything was, and granted, man, did I know what that actually meant? Absolutely not, right? The intention was there. We said we want to franchise this. Had I known what it takes to franchise a concept, I probably would have gone about things very differently. But we were open 9 months before the pandemic hit, and we probably had about 400 members in 9 months. Maybe 200 of which were regular recurring members, a bunch of other folks doing drop-ins and packs, what have you. But pandemic, had me sitting here crying at my desk being like, what's going to happen? A day later, I was probably downtown with my boombox and a whiteboard leading classes in the street, but we made it happen. And, it was just one of those things where we knew people were craving community and craving connection, especially during the pandemic. And so we were fortunate and lucky to push forward during the pandemic and get those second and third locations ready to rock. But even by the end of the third, you don't know what it takes to teach someone what you know intuitively until you have to do it. And then you realize, wow, I probably didn't document everything as thoroughly as I needed to, because so much of it just lived in me and how we did things.
Is 400 members, is that the goal for each? Is that a healthy location, or that was just the first?
So we typically set it like this. First 4 months, you want to be at about 220 members, right? And then by the end of the year, 360 members. And by the end of year 2, 500 members. So our Westfield, Verona, and Red Bank location all have 600 members, regular recurring. So they're doing about 1.1, 1.2 in revenue, and we're running about 30 to 35% margins at those locations. So a real, the unit economics have proven to be incredibly powerful in terms of helping people understand what's possible. Now, what I always pair those with is the amount of work and energy it took to get those locations to where they are. And we're also leveraging that capital to build out the infrastructure of our franchise as well, right? So it's great, but they are the vehicles at this moment that help fuel the machine at the top.
The ones that are doing 1, 1, 1, 2, those are the corporate run stores. Those are the ones you built from scratch.
Correct. And then, we have some great franchise partners who are doing incredibly well. We've got Glen Rock, 400 plus members in their first year and a half. Short Hills, over 400 members in their first year and a half. Wayne, Marlboro, Basking Ridge, all over 200 members. And right now we're in pre-sales for 4 different locations.
What's packaging and pricing look like for your clients?
We have a really interesting, and maybe not that interesting, but a really
could be interesting, could not be interesting. We're about to find out.
Yeah, you guys
let me know.
Yep, thank you. First class is free with us. We want to make sure that people can get in and test the product, make sure it's for them. I find it, inconceivable to get somebody to sign up for a $200 membership if you're asking them to pay before they try it. It's just not realistic. Most people, with the amount of offerings that are out there now, have found something that probably feels pretty good to them, right? Until they get bored of something, they're probably pretty happy with where they're at. There's so many options. So come in, try us, see if it's for you. If it's not, no problem, right? But 35% of the time it is. And so we convert about 35% of people who come in for that first class free into a promotional month for $99 of unlimited classes. I want to make sure that as you think about it, that initial swipe of the card isn't a barrier to entry for us to convince you that it absolutely is something that you can make a major pillar of your fitness. And we've proven that that's the case because 80% of the people that buy that promo month stay a regular recurring member after that and stay a member with us on average for over a year. So the memberships after that promo month of $99, 4 times a month, 8 times a month, unlimited classes, VIP, and that VIP membership or that unlimited membership is typically $179 to $199. So still, in my opinion, a really good bang for your buck for a workout that you can do 4 or 5 days a week.
What I like about this is that the footprint is in line with some of the other functional training concepts, and you can just get bodies in there. What do you pack out? What's a fully packed out class? How many people can you train out of you said?
So we do, it's 24 people a class, to be honest. It's not an astronomical amount. Orange Theories, I know, are closer to 40. Same with F45s, I think. So we give people space. One of my biggest pet peeves when I went into an F45 was I felt like I was just jammed up. I didn't have room to move. I didn't have time to swap out my weights. And again, clearly they did something right. People loved it and the product spoke for itself. But for me, I was like, I want to design something where I have time at stations. I can feel like I'm actually making progress. So our typical format is 6-minute stations, six stations, 6-minute stations, right? So you're getting 36 minutes of quality work within an hour window there. We do a warm up, a cool down. We do a demonstration at the top where we make sure that if there's a point of emphasis or something we need to make sure you really understand, we kind of talk you through that. But the normal class size, 24 people. On specific holidays, we'll do 48 people per class, where we kind of just do a you go, I go format to get a DJ in there and have some fun with it. But 24 people so that people have space to move and time to make the most of it.
500 members is a lot of members. How are you, obviously you got the free class. How are you filling out these spaces? It's either a lot of money on ads or it's a lot of buying coffees for people in the neighborhood, or maybe a
lot of 5K
both.
DMs.
Yeah, exactly.
We dabbled with paid ads for the first time about 6 months ago. And so we've never run paid ads. Most of it is absolute guerrilla warfare marketing in terms of the front end of the stick and getting out in the community, finding great coaches who are maybe already intertwined in the community in some capacity, paying those coaches well so they see this as an opportunity worth considering if they're at a gym where they've already built themselves up a little bit. And that's the benefit of being the new kid on the block, right? You get to be the hot new concept that comes in that's maybe, snagging some coaches from other, concepts. Eventually here in Westfield, for example, a Rumble Boxing opened up right down the street, right? We're worried then, are they going to take our coaches? Are they going to take our members? Are people bored of what we're doing? So staying super conscious of that and finding moments within that specific community, running it like a true small business that we can stand behind. And to your point about the 5Ks, all jokes aside, this year in our third year in Red Bank, a location that, quite frankly, people overutilize their membership. Our biggest issue is that our wait lists are 24 people deep. So you have 24 people in class, 24 people on a wait list, people coming on average 3.5 times a week. It becomes a problem. And so a great space, but we decided to sponsor the major 5K in town. It was a $10,000 spend to be the banner sponsor, but now it's the Alpha Fit Club Red Bank Classic, a race that already draws in 1,500 people to a local level 5K. Like, we'll find moments to truly stand behind and show that we are a part of the community. We're not just another chain. We're normal freaking people who get it and want to be here for the long haul, serving the community as well as we can. So it's people bringing in people, but us making sure that they know we're there.
So when you say guerrilla marketing, like, I guess, what are the marketing plays or the things you tell your franchisees? Like, what's the support or the playbooks that you give them when they're trying to grow?
So initially, it's really getting out in the community in a non-invasive way, in my opinion. So one of the things that I typically do is I start with the coaches. I really do. And, we're vetting all of the gyms in the area. We're seeing what coaches coach there. We're going to take classes there. We're seeing how people roll. What's the vibe at these gyms, those types of things. And then from there, it's the businesses, right? Getting in touch with the managers, the business owners, who can we connect with in the community, the schools, the first responders, you name it. One of the things which I think you guys will both enjoy is similar to the 5K timesheet tactic, was when we first opened Alpha Fit Club Westfield, right? And I didn't have a video to show. I didn't have, I had fake pictures practically. I was like, this is, my little idea, whatever. We went to the local coffee shop, which we've got like 15 downtown, but we chose one. And we said, we're going to buy the first 100 cups of coffee today. And that way, when somebody goes to buy a cup of coffee, they're like, yeah, it's taken care of today. And they're like, what? And they're like, yeah, the little dude in the corner with the table and the flyer, like, he bought your coffee. And I'm just over there like this, like waving like an idiot, 25 years old with my little flyer, like, hey. And they're like, all right, what's the pitch? And I would just talk to them like a normal person, man. I'm like, what do you do for fitness? And they're like, I'm at the YMCA. I'm like, do you like it? They're like, not really, but I go. I was like, do me a favor, name, email. I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to text you. When we open, come try a class. See if what we got going on is for you. And like, when you just treat people like people and you're like, listen, like, yes, I'm trying to sell you on something here, but I'm really proud of what we put together. And a lot of people seem to be pretty excited about it. There's no magic wand, right? Like, there just isn't. And I think the people who are freaking hungry and like willing to go do that work day in and day out, it also doesn't stop once you open. I think that's something I've seen other places do where it's like, you know, pre-sales, tabling, this, that, the other thing. That needs to continue forever and always, right? And maybe a little bit differently, but like that connectivity that you have to your community is everything, in my opinion. And then people got to leave your gym raving about it and saying like, yo, you got to come check this out. Like, this is different.
And so this is funny because I was doing an AMA and someone asked me what I would do if how I would go about opening a gym differently based off of how we did it. And one of the things that I said was exactly what you said. It was like, I would focus really hard on finding the right trainer in my market. Like I would poach, like I know there's a trainer at the Lifetime near me who someone actually did this. Someone actually poached her to start a new gym, but I was like, her classes are packed out. She's got a huge following. It's like, I would figure out a way to pay this person to come work at my gym because she comes pre-programmed with 75 of my members because everyone at that Lifetime is paying $300 a month. Now, obviously it's tough for you to do that for 16 locations, but in the beginning, was it just like you having a little online clout and obviously like it was you kind of facilitating that? Are you still just like every time, is that part of the franchise deal? Like DMs from Sam Tooley to poach your...
If it works, man. And again, in fairness, like I know how to present an opportunity and have a conversation in a real way. Like, yo, your page looks awesome. You look like a good person. Seems like you're up to a lot of stuff. Would love to have you come take a class or grab a coffee with our manager. We're opening. It could be a fit, you know? Like I think people, it becomes more difficult than it needs to, right? Like some people are, if you present an opportunity to the right person, like it comes knocking, like chances are they're going to be at least interested in hearing you out, right? And if they're not, like that's okay too. But you know, shoot your shot to a certain extent. And I'm happy to help facilitate that. Now we walk them through our sourcing process, our audition process, our onboarding process, our support process, right? We give the franchisee the tools that we would exactly do ourselves. And we meet with them to make sure that they're following through on those things. From a scalability perspective, it's not me DMing folks, but if they've got somebody and they're like, yeah, we just can't get in touch with this person, I'm like, let me shoot them a note, you know? So we're busy, but we're not too busy that I'm above any of this, you know, grunt work. It's too crucial, you know, and it can change the game for a single location. You get one great coach, that coach can open up Pandora's box to members, other coaches, the whole vibe.
All right. So obviously that first one or two hires, getting someone deep in the community, that's massive. That's really important. And I think that's oftentimes with a lot of gyms that we speak with, overlooked. Like they're like, I have a good trainer at my gym. I'm gonna open up a second gym. I'm gonna put him over there. And like, you know, while that can work sometimes, it's like, but you're just bleeding, like you're taking the core, the heartbeat of your existing gym and moving them to another gym, which is difficult. One of the things that you said makes sense is like the coffee thing. So like I know Mike Dalla, who sold his nutrition business to Anytime Fitness, came on the show, and he ran like a similar coffee play. And there's a lot of these things that like, you know, you can find these little tips and tricks and hacks. But to your point, like nobody really does it, right? Like you can, like talking to you to 30 minutes, it's like clear you have the sauce and like you want to grind and you have the look. And so you can pull this stuff off. But like when you look at talking to a guy like Rick Mayo, who has 150 franchisees, like I don't think you're going to find 150 of you. Like when you're running the franchise game, you want people with money, you want institutional money, like it's more difficult. So how do you kind of like replicate yourself when you're talking to these institutional people that want to open up, you know, 5-10 units of Alpha Fit? Like they're not going to, you know, the guy from private equity isn't going to go out there and, you know, buy coffees and do that.
I mean, I look forward to when I start to get to talk to those people, because so far everyone who's opened a franchise has been a member at one of our gyms and said, I want to go bring this to a new community. So I have been fortunate so far in that everyone who's raised their hand has done so probably 60-40, 60% because what Alpha has done for them, what it's unlocked for them, and 40% because they want to build a business and they see maybe that the economics of this could work if they pull it off. So I haven't had to really hunt for those types of folks as much, right? Or build in lieu of not having those folks. They're there and they've raised their hand, and fortunately they're flying the flag and making it happen for us. But when we do talk with those people, they need to go find that person who's going to care, and they need to compensate that person. It needs to be, you know, and it's a part of our culture at the end of the day. Like you come in, we train you, if you don't have that juice, if you don't have that fire, if you're not going to give a shit, it's going to be a hard job for you, right? And it's going to be a hard time for that location. And we make that abundantly clear. Like, I think the number one prerequisite for hiring outside of experience is the personality, that matches what it is that we're asking those folks to do and how we expect them to be. So, part of it's a culture thing. And whether that's from the franchisee or the folks work in the gym, like, there's a certain level of that, kind of alpha mentality that they need to have.
Speaking of Rick Mayo, let's say I have some capital. Let's say I'm passionate about fitness. Why should I take that and open up one of these franchises when I could open up another concept with less members, semi-private, 6 people a class? I don't need to deal with about 500 members. What would be the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's honestly like you have different pizza pies and whatever your flavor is, right? And I think at the end of the day, if you think that there's an opportunity to bring something like this to your community and it will thrive because it doesn't exist there, it's a great option, right? From an initial capital outlay to recouping that investment to where it ultimately ends up from a profit margin perspective. It's a super attractive franchise, in my opinion, for those reasons. I look at, for example, an Orange Theory, which costs $1 million plus to build, and you need to have 1,000 members. And, there's a potential upside there for us to spend $450,000 to build out a gym where, then it's the ability to recoup that capital and then, what have you. We're just in a really good position for a lot of folks to take advantage of it. So, I don't discount any franchise opportunity. It's really what you want, right? And what you think will thrive there. Also from I'm not familiar with most other models in that way, but one of the things that I've always thought was super attractive for us is the type of folks that you can hire and be successful from a training perspective, I think is easier in a group fitness model versus that of a really high caliber of training, very specialized kind of method of training where, there's more people who can grab a mic, know what they need to know to thrive as a group fitness coach versus somebody who's going to be an excellent private or semi-private trainer.
I was just being cheeky. I want to open one. I'm ready to invest. I want an Alpha Fit Club. I'm down.
Let's do it.
And so you're saying 450, 500 build out one of these things. What do you have in terms of like, what's the footprint you're looking for? How much of it's training space? Are you doing showers and what's the bathroom situation, locker room situation? How do you split all that up?
Stereo system, mics.
I got it all, man. I'm literally like the encyclopedia of Alpha Fit Club build outs right now. I'm secret general contractor, but so we're looking for 3,500 square feet typically. If you want to go beyond that, there is an opportunity to do 36 people per class, which then changes the model dramatically. We've yet to open one of those. Westfield itself is moving to a new location, which will have 36 people per class so that we can grow. Because right now we literally can't grow. We're in 2,700 square feet there. Depending upon where you open, answers the shower equation. So the workout box itself in 3,500 square feet is roughly 35 to 40 feet wide, 50 to 60 feet deep. That's the workout box, right? The remainder of that space, so call it 1,500, is lobby, bathrooms, reception, etc. Bathrooms are kind of contingent upon where you're at. So for example, a Jersey City or a Hoboken, they don't really need showers. Most people are walking over from their place. So they'll do one shower closet, one ADA bathroom, and with a shower and just one bathroom box, right? So it's been variable depending upon the space. We're also able to make modifications to the workout room itself. Let's say you were to get a very narrow space that's very long. We can accommodate that in terms of how we outlay the space, which has been a nice evolution there. Because for a while I was kind of in this fixed mindset that it had to be this perfect box that we duplicated over, but eventually that really limits you. So, I think that's where we're at with it for right now, right? And who knows if it changes down the road.
And then what does it take to staff one of these? How many team members?
Manager's key, point person, right? Whoever's going to be, whether it's an owner operator or truly just a manager who's going to run, kind of the facility for you. That's really the key hire. And then, we want you to open with 4 to 5 coaches. just to make sure you've got a little bit of a bullpen. And then your ops team is your ops team. And again, some people could be looking for almost full-time ops positions, or other folks truly part-time. So from the coaches, we ramp up our schedule as we grow membership, of course. So initially, you're probably running 4 to 5 classes a day. Westfield, we run 11 classes a day right now to accommodate it. And typically our capacity utilization is right around like 85%. So 85% of the available roster spots are snagged on average, pretty much month over month.
And so what are the top end, like the managers, what can they expect to make?
It depends. I would say anywhere between 55 to 65, maybe 70,000, depending upon, their experience level. We have some super young managers who are hungry to get into fitness that are totally capable, but, fortunately we don't have to pay them a ton because they're new to the business. Or you've got some other folks who continue to grow with us in the brand, and you want to obviously reward that. And I think that's where my vision goes for a lot of this stuff, is continuing to elevate members of our team from the floor up and making sure that they have an opportunity to contribute on a bigger scale, because they know the brand better than anybody else. And, I think we can figure out what happens from there next together,
So it sounds like Alpha Fit Club started when? 2019 was the official launch?
April 27th, 2019. We are 2 weeks away, basically 4 weeks away from 5 years.
And you said there's 16 contracted or 20 contracted?
So we've got 13 open. And then from there, we have another 10 sold, but not yet opened. And then a couple conversations, obviously, in the pipeline for franchises to be sold.
All right. So we're pushing 25. You're making moves. That's fast. Cool. Well, we're pushing up a little over an hour. I don't want to be too greedy with your time. Mostly gym owners listening to this show. Where do you want to send them? It sounds like you got a lot of online real estate here. Where are we pushing people?
Yeah, if they want to shoot me an email, sam@alphafitclub.com. And if they want to see what we got going on, I stay off the TikTok and I'm on the Instagram. So they can just shoot me a note on IG.
And probably 70% of this podcast is in New Jersey. First class free. Go try it out. Maybe you like it, gym owner. Maybe you like it. Who knows?
Sam said most of the new franchisee owners are clients. So become a client, and then that track to ownership is right there.
Success is closer than you think, guys.
These guys, good start and great end there. So
the middle, we don't know, but the beginning and the end. Hey, that's all that counts.
Remember.
Yeah.
Well, Gym World, success is closer than you think. This was a great pod. Be sure to like and subscribe, and reach out to our friend here, Coach Sam Tooley, if you are interested. At a minimum, go stock his social properties, because I think it's pretty cool. The spaces are really well outfitted. Just scrolling through there's some unique stuff, some little knickknacks that we didn't talk about in the show. But if you are a smart, discerning gym owner, I feel like you'll learn a couple things. So that's it for this week's Gym World.
Open an Alpha Fit Club.
There you go.
At maximum, go all in.
Yeah. At minimum, go to the checkout to IG.
Yeah, and but that's at maximum. Beta. If you want an alpha, you
at maximum, go open a new one.
All right, we'll catch you next week, Gym World. Sam, thanks for the time, man.
Appreciate you guys.